One of my videos went along the lines of, whenever they see that I've uploaded something, they wonder what terrible thing has happened in the world because I'm talking about it. Well, I'm going to be talking about a sort of mixed bag on this occasion, because we're going to go through, we're going to run the spectrum from civilization to barbarity. And that's the human condition, I'm afraid. I'm Grannyopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So we'll start with the civilization. Despite the fact that there have been so many doubts about the validity of elections in America, and there's been such a terrible fight over the soul of America from two completely different types of political philosophies, we see here that there's a sort of self-righting system going on. Now, as I'm talking, Donald Trump has not yet been inaugurated. It's still just very early afternoon here in Britain, and that means things are only just starting in the USA, I suppose. But it's this is the self-righting system of a proper democracy, and a proper democracy comprising people who are themselves civilized people, mostly. So you see these people here just standing in the snow, and a little bit of fun and games there. I'm not quite sure what message Donald Trump is trying to give with that, but yeah, all right. And then somewhere down here, so here's the army, the protectors who are doing what they're supposed to do, and here's the patriots. And then somewhere down here there are some protesters, it says. Let's find it. Oh, I can't find it now. Oh yeah, thousands of protesters march past the Washington Monument on Saturday. That was a couple of days ago. There are protesters, but even that is orderly. And this is... It's strange, because even the protesters in Trump's America are acting in a civilized way. In Biden's America, they were acting in another way altogether, which just shows you that people get away with what they get away with, what they feel they can get away with. Now, I want to go from this sort of civilization. Now, before I finish with that, as I said, Trump has not been inaugurated just yet. And if something horrible and catastrophic happened and Trump could not be inaugurated, somebody would be able to take his place. And the civilization, because of the organisation of the American system and the general attitude of the American people themselves, things will go on. And you mustn't lose that. And there are groups coming into your country that don't have that attitude. And at the moment, it's a small and relatively small, and therefore it's not having much effect on the American system. But I want to show you what happens when it takes over. This is the other side of it. Now, all these Hamas people here, you know, the Israelis and the Hamas have a ceasefire. Personally, I think that's a big mistake, actually. But then I'm not seeing young men, names of young men and women coming in every day who've been injured and killed in an endless war. So, I'm not really one to criticise. But they're in Gaza. During the Israeli invasion, they were running around in T-shirts and jeans. With their Palestinian flag, scarves or whatever. Now the Israelis have gone, they're in uniform. these big brave men, not brave enough though to come out from their tunnels wearing uniform. There's a cowardice about these people here. I'm not talking about all Gazans. I'm not talking about all Muslims. I'm talking about the people who have been ensnared by Hamas and the Hamas mentality. There's a cowardice about these people which is beyond the understanding of most people in the West. Most people in the West would suggest that a soldier raping a 17-year-old girl in a wood and then decapitating her or whatever it was is probably not the best behaviour for a soldier to display. And, a fighter for Islam stabbing an 83-year-old woman shopper in a shopping mall, that would not be considered good behaviour by any Western standards of bravery. But these people are lauded by the Gazans as heroes, great heroes. And it shows a completely different attitude. I'll play this to you. Let's have a look at this. She's speaking in Arabic and there are subtitles in English and in Hebrew. I'll read the subtitles out because some of you aren't watching this, they're just listening to it. Okay, it starts off here with, every house in Gaza is part of the resistance. By the way, in case you're not watching this, she has a really smug, sly look on her face. It is actually a face of evil triumph. It's not a nice face at all. Right, let's listen. Every house in Gaza is part of the resistance. All of them. So when Israel thinks that it's eliminating Hamas
في غزة
in Gaza,
كل بيت في حماس.
In every house there's Hamas.
كل بيت في سرايا.
In every house there's Al-Quds brigades.
القدس. كل بيت
In every house there's a resistor.
في مقاوم. ده تقضي على 2
You will eliminate 2.5 million people.
2.5 مليون بني آدم. كل بيت فيه.
They're present in every house. Now, I found that very interesting. She says here, you will eliminate 2.5 million people, as if to say, that's not possible. Well, of course, the Israelis could do that fairly easily. They could just go in there with their vastly superior aeroplanes and just blanket bomb everything. But she knows they won't do that. Now, if they, her and her co-religionists had those aeroplanes, they would be doing that to the Israelis. They know that very well. And she is taunting the Israelis with their civilization, knowing full well that if the boot were on the other foot, the situation would be completely different. There wouldn't be just a lot of wrecked houses. There'd be nobody there. The area would be sterilised. Every last Jew, and they'd consider that a great act of bravery. And she's taunting the Israelis with the fact that they wouldn't do that. So at the same time as she's recognising the civilization of the Israelis, she's turned this into a triumph of Islam. The fact that they would and the Israelis wouldn't. And that is true barbarism, of course. This is, inside that head there, is pure evil barbarism. And in this crowd here is pure evil barbarism. They hid among the civilians when the Israelis were there. Now that the Israelis have gone, they come out with their green headbands and their camouflage uniforms, and wearing their weapons out in the open. So, yeah, it's not only evil barbarism, it's cowardice and evil barbarism. And this article here, written by Robert Clark, Romy Gonen, Emily Damari and Doron Steinbrecher are the first of the hostages mercifully now safe in Israel. But as their unimaginably horrific 471-day ordeal was coming to an end, some Palestinians, it looked like the whole crowd of them actually, not some, they were all out there, were openly waving Hamas flags, jeering and whistling aggressively during their return. Fighters carried rifles and declared victory. And, I might say, the Red Cross turned up for the first time. All this time, those hostages have been buried underground, and the Red Cross didn't want to know. Now all they are is a taxi service. The Red Cross is a complete disgrace. And here the Red Cross is, again, we're back to civilization and barbarity. The Red Cross should be a symbol of civilization, of absolute civilization. But in this case, they've given way to barbarity. They have not tried to see that the hostages were at least minimally taken care of. So when Sinwar wanted to run away, he had previously been surrounded by a small group of hostages who were supposed to be used as human shields in case the Israelis broke into his lair. But these hostages had been so badly treated that they were obviously not able to keep up with Sinwar and his two bodyguards or three bodyguards or however much it was. And so they were just summarily shot where they were. One of them, a girl, weighed 35 kilograms. If you saw that video of Sinwar going down a corridor with one of his very well-fed wives who was carrying a Gucci bag or something like that. At the same time, they must have been taunting these hostages by not giving them food and eating. I can imagine eating in front of them. The cruelty, the barbarism, the sheer evil of it is just beyond our imagination here in the civilized West. We get a small glimpse of it, well, quite a large glimpse of it actually, here over what happened in Britain when our legal system gave way to barbarism with the so-called grooming gangs, the rape gangs. As I was making videos about this in 2018 when I got to know about it. I called them slaving gangs. Because nobody was listening to me. I think I might have had about 3,000 subscribers at the time. So that's hardly surprising. But this is what happens. You have this barbarity and you give way to it in little bits. And you don't notice, and before you know it, the barbarity has grown. Hamas weren't as powerful as this to begin with, but the PA, the Palestine Authority, they couldn't keep control of Gaza. And so Hamas took over. There were PA officers being dragged on the end of ropes through the streets of Gaza behind motorcycles. That's when the PA gave up. These are barbarians. And the Israelis have given way to them, which very much worries me. They've given way to them because of pressure from America, I suspect, which worries me even more. Because this sort of thing would not happen unless you are fully committed to civilization, not only in your laws, but in the way your laws are applied. Remember, here we have laws about what you can do with little girls and not do with little girls. And yet those laws were flouted because the people did not believe in applying them. And that's my message to America and to all of you who in civilization are watching an orderly change of government. Because not only do you have laws, but you as people are prepared to uphold these laws. And I want to warn you not to allow this sort of thing to take any sort of hold in your country. because it only needs a little bit. And it will grow if you yourselves are not strong enough to hold it in check. Okay, well, may I congratulate America on your inauguration day of a new president. I hope that this is the beginning of a new era for all of us. Till next time, you can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.